Thank you. Welcome, everybody. As Sol mentioned, my name is Carine Karam. I'm the Vice President of Global Sales and Partnerships at Artsy. And I'm going to be talking about the resilient collector and the behaviors and trends that are shaping the art market in 2022. But first, for those of you who are less familiar, I want to talk a little bit about who Artsy is. We are the largest and fastest growing marketplace in the art world for buying, discovering, and selling fine art. We are on a mission to grow the art world to support more artists and more galleries globally. Today, we partner with over 4,000 art galleries, art fairs, institutions, auction houses. We have over 1 million artworks on our platform by over 100,000 artists. We have over 2.7 million registered users globally. And we have almost 5 million followers across all of our social channels, making us the largest audience in the art world. So at Artsy, we are trying to expand the art collecting market so that more people are engaged with art and buying art at volumes that we haven't seen in the past. So we always want you to buy more art. Cue the video. All right, so now everybody's awake after lunch. That is a brand video that we rolled out this year, and it really is trying to get the word out there around art, make art cool and fun and interesting, and bring it to an audience that maybe hasn't considered buying art in the past. And what we do at Artsy is really important, because we are at the intersection of two rather different worlds. You've got the traditional art world on one side, which is based on experience and expertise, taste and curation. It's built on relationships. It is highly personal. It also has a lot of barriers to entry. And it can be secretive and opaque at times, and sometimes unwelcoming. On the other side, you've got the digital world that is built on speed and convenience. It is all about data and algorithms, machine learning. It's built on discoverability. It's accessible to everyone. It is transactional, and it is most definitely transparent. So thinking about balancing those two worlds, bringing the art world forward, but still respecting its values and traditions, but ensuring that it's also following in line with how the world is progressing and the direction every other industry has gone towards. Now, it's no surprise COVID-19 reshaped the art market, probably for good, and drove collectors online in a way that we never saw before. According to the UBS Art Basel report, online sales doubled to 13.3 billion in 2021. It continued to grow after the pandemic. So, of course, the pandemic saw the largest growth period, the most dramatic for the industry. But I think what we saw is the industry actually catching up to the world and being forced to recognize the importance of a digital presence and thinking about it in a way as a priority for a business's strategy and not as a secondary thing when you have time to do it. 56% of collectors spent over half their art budget online in 2021. So online is really important. It's here to stay. And it's important that everyone in the art business recognizes what it takes to be online and how to do it successfully. So despite economic downturns and the real physical art world returning, thank God, I love going to art fairs, online sales have persevered. What we saw in Artsy, just to give you an idea, as we are the largest marketplace, this is really reflective of online activity. We saw 123% growth in e-commerce sales, so transactions of artworks. We saw an increase of 33% on the average price of an artwork bought, sight unseen. And we saw 63% growth in new users to the platform. So of course, during the pandemic, when galleries were closed and art fairs were canceled for a year or so, the only place to buy art was actually online. And so we saw this massive influx of people, galleries, collectors, everybody coming onto the platform to be able to engage with buying art online. And a lot of that had some really great benefits for galleries, for collectors who started engaging with online, because more galleries started engaging with online. And this really was, for many galleries, a lifesaver for their business to be able to continue doing business throughout the pandemic when their doors were closed, and to continue meeting new collectors globally. Every month, we have since continued seeing about 30,000 new users joining the platform, and 1,000 new collectors every month buying their first work on Artsy. Not necessarily their first work in life, but their first Artsy work. So about 1,000 different new collectors are buying an artwork each month. And as you can see here from this article, we had an auction last year with artist Julie Moretu and broke her all-time record, selling the work for $6.5 million. And the reason I'm talking about this work is because, again, this is a testament to the increased trust that this new generation of collectors has in buying artworks of a high value without touching it or seeing it in person. And that's a really important example here for the art world to think about and understand, because I have lots of conversations with hundreds of galleries, and I will often hear, well, you have to have a coffee with someone, or they have to see it in person. And yes, that is definitely a wonderful part of the art world, and the two worlds should be complementing each other. But you cannot disregard the fact that there is, in fact, a very large audience that doesn't need to have a coffee and will buy a high-value work without touching it and without seeing it in person. And this is a market that you can be capturing or that you can be missing out on. So every collector is now an online collector. 76% of collectors purchased art online in the past 12 months. And more importantly, 90% of next generation collectors purchased art online and purchased more art than they did during the pandemic in 2021. So they are buying art online as a majority, and they are buying more art online continuously as they are continuing to have exposure and access to artworks. And that's really important, because to understand the resilient collector, in 2022, we need to understand the next generation collector. And if you want to have a resilient art business and protect yourself through a pandemic, through macroeconomic conditions, through a war, you have to be thinking about how to attract the next generation of collectors to your business and make sure that you're protecting your business. So thinking about the trends and patterns of this next generation of collectors, the art industry is really facing an emerging audience that has different values and expectations than previous generations. What they view as an online experience is still sometimes at odds with what galleries view being online as. And it's important that we think about bridging that gap so that you are seeing the right kind of momentum online and not thinking that it doesn't work or online sales don't actually drive value. I was just speaking with someone today at lunch who is an art advisor and said that she has a friend who is now a big-time collector and built her entire collection through Artsy. So this is one of many, many examples. Galleries, some of them who have, we've seen double the rate of galleries give up their physical locations because of overhead costs and other reasons, and who have just now exclusively started selling through Artsy and having a homepage there. And now this is not something I'm recommending, but it does represent an option that the art world is still thinking about in different ways, but it supports galleries that may not have the same resources as others to continue having success and to continue meeting collectors and selling artworks. So thinking about, we work with almost 4,000 galleries and partners globally. We have millions of users. We're the largest art marketplace. And I'm not saying all of these things to give myself a pat on the back, although that's pretty great. But I'm saying this because that means we've got incredible data to help others in the art business think about how to build their online digital presence successfully. So because we've got access to all of this activity in the online space, unlike any other art business, we can tell you what's working, what's not working, what the successful galleries are doing, and what those are falling behind are not doing. And it's really important because we really are at a transitional point in the art industry between this kind of convergence of the kind of legacy art world going through a bit of an uncomfortable phase as they're adopting the modern digital space. So, top tips for attracting the next generation of collectors and future-proofing your business. 1, meet them where they are. 2, make discovery and learning easy and intuitive. 3, build trust and transparency. And 4, connect with culture. So what do we mean by these things? Meet collectors where they are. Where are collectors? Where's this next generation doing everything? Online. This is an internet-first generation. They grew up with iPads and phones in their hands. They do everything online. We never thought 10 years ago somebody would buy a diamond engagement ring on the internet without looking at it, or a car, or a house, or a $3 million graphic of an ape. But here we are. So art should be no different. And what we're seeing is that 66% of collectors discover new artists via online marketplaces. And just behind 58% of collectors find new artists via social media. None of this should be surprising information. I think all of us are probably on social media more than we would like. And we're researching something from Google, from Instagram, from Artsy, from ArtNet, from all of these different platforms, and kind of building our information pool. And if you're not online as a gallery, you are basically just stepping out of the race altogether. And if you think you don't need to be online and you're just going to continue doing business the same way you have been doing for 30 to 40 years, I've heard this line many, many times on calls, then you can expect your business to stay 30 to 40 years in the past. The internet has changed the world dramatically. This has happened in just the last few years, the art industry probably being one of the last to adopt online. But the writing is on the wall. You're either going to get ahead of it or try to catch up. Make discovery and learning intuitive. Be proactive and deliberate with your online strategy. It's not enough to have a website, and it's not enough to just be online. You have to think about how you're showing up online. The same way it's not enough to just open a gallery and not put any effort into it and think that that's enough. You have to think about online in a different way than you think about your physical gallery. It's not the same thing. It doesn't operate in the same way. People don't think the same way online as they might at a gallery. And if you're not making it convenient and easy and smooth for that new generation of collectors, they are going to skip over you and go to the gallery that's speaking their language. Things like smart algorithms. So, we've been investing a lot in algorithm matchmaking at Artsy, and why that matters is because there are thousands of artists, hundreds of thousands of artworks, and not everybody is coming to the platform to search for a Warhol or a Banksy or Basquiat or an Anselm, as we've heard for the last 2 days, although you can buy an Anselm Kiefer today on Artsy that is listed in Buy Now, Make Offer for up to £900,000. So whoever wants that piece, it's there. But not everybody is coming to Artsy with a very specific goal or artist. Many people are coming to discover new works, new galleries. They want to be delighted by something new in the art world. But how do they cut through the noise and kind of find something that appeals to them? Somebody mentioned if you go on Spotify without any purpose, you're not going to think it's any good because there's just everything and anything, and it's not necessarily your taste. So what we've been investing in and thinking a lot about at Artsy that has really driven a lot of discovery for emerging artists and younger galleries is this algorithm matchmaking. So similar to actually how you would have on Spotify or even TikTok, is the more somebody is on Artsy using it, liking something, searching for something, following an artist or a gallery, the more we're able to develop really targeted recommendations for them. And then they will start receiving emails and notifications with similar artists or artworks that they might like but have never heard of that artist or the gallery. And now they're getting to discover new things that are really interesting for them. And we love this part of what we do because we're not just here to support the big galleries. We're here to kind of level the playing field for all gallery partners so that they can have access to the same benefits and advantages as somebody who has really deep pockets by getting it through kind of a unified marketplace where we're investing in these things on behalf of galleries. And we're able to also drive value for collectors as a two-sided marketplace. So we want to make sure collectors have something interesting and engaging to do when they're on Artsy. And we want to make sure that galleries have an opportunity to get discovered and really build up the careers of their emerging artists. So you have to think about, are you adapting your business to online? Are you listening to the new consumer? And it doesn't matter what used to work or how things used to happen. We can't be looking backwards. We need to be looking forward. And we need to do it as quickly as it's happening in front of us. Trust and transparency. This is a really big one. As I mentioned in the beginning, the art world can sometimes be a little bit opaque and secretive. Even today, if I walk into a regular gallery, it's mostly a quiet, white room. There is oftentimes no information on the artworks. There's no pricing. I sometimes can't even see who the artist is. And then there's one person who is sitting at the desk who may or may not be interested in chatting with me. But I have to then make a really big effort, put my pride aside, see if I'm going to be received welcomely or not, or they think I'm just somebody wasting their time. And then ask a basic question like, how much does this work cost? And I want to know, I just want to know if it's in my budget, right? Is this 100,000? Is it 20,000? Just give me the basic information. And this is really kind of a legacy art world practice that is not translating online. And next generation collectors want to buy art with the same trust and transparency of other platforms and of everything else they do online. So when they come to an art marketplace and they see like a whole mix of things happening, some artworks have pricing, some don't. Some artworks are transactable, some are not. This one is available, this one's not available. They want to know who you are, they want to place the work. I get all that. But what that ends up doing is just blocking out that user and keeping the art industry quite closed and limited to a small audience. Interesting fun fact, only 2% of luxury consumers today buy art. So that means there is 98% of people with a lot of disposable income, luxury consumers, who are spending lots of money on everything else, watches, jewelry, cars, luxury, fashion, but not on art. And I think that's been a product of how the industry has operated in large part, and it is built to kind of keep people out. And if you're not an insider, you really are an outsider. So we're always thinking about the resilient collector, how to attract the new collector. The most resilient thing we can do for our art business is expanding the number of people who are collecting art altogether. So we're not selling to the same people we're seeing at the same fairs every 2 months. Why don't we sell to many, many more people and make art collecting as ubiquitous as music, film, cinema, all the other art genres? And I think, we saw interestingly on the NFT panel talk about how different the NFT art world is compared to what they were noticing in the art world, where people are kind of community-based and collaborative. And this is a really important aspect to growing the art market. but it'll only work if we do it together in the art world. We need all the galleries to think in a slightly different way to progress the industry forward, so that we're cracking open that 2% of luxury consumers who are buying art and making it a much wider pool of people. And then we'll see a whole other resilience to the art market. Visible pricing on artworks, #1 request we get from collectors on Artsy. Safe and seamless transactions and access to artist analytics. They want to know what they're buying in many cases, and if they're making a smart decision. Visible pricing. So we do an annual survey of 1,200 collectors across Artsy globally, and nearly 70% of next generation collectors say lack of visible pricing prevented them from buying online. But we're making progress. In 2022, about 75% of the works uploaded to the platform had visible pricing, and that's a really great improvement from 2018, when only 33% of works were uploaded with visible pricing. Visible pricing sends the trust signals that this next generation of collectors respect and value. And when we're hiding the prices, you're already starting the perception from the wrong foot. And they're used to everything being available, information, authenticity, transparency. And then they question why something would not have a visible price to them, so that they can just make an informed decision. And you know, similar to when you walk into a gallery and have no information, I'm sure a lot of people walk right out without having asked, and that could have been an artwork that was in their budget, but they were too intimidated to ask because maybe it's not, and then they're just standing there, you know, with a really expensive price tag, and then where do you go from, oh, do you have this in polka dots? Oh, okay, sorry, that's what I was looking for, maybe next time. So thinking about building that trust, something else that's really important is seamless transactions. 85% of Artsy buyers make their first purchase through the e-commerce function, when they can click and either make an offer or a purchase. And galleries see 4 to 6 times higher sales when artworks are e-commerce enabled versus contact gallery. So here's a bit of a misconception. So you'll see, if you ever browse Artsy, some works have, you can see the price, you can click and make an offer or make a purchase, and the gallery would still get to approve that. But then there's other artworks with no price, and it just says contact gallery. And what we're seeing is that collectors are starting to skip over those works instead of what the gallery thinks is going to happen, which is forced engagement. So gallery thinks it's either they will, if they have it as contact gallery, that person will 100% reach out to them if they're interested. But what's actually happening is that person is moving on to something else where they've got the information and they feel a lot more comfortable, and they don't have to, if they don't want to, engage in like a 3-day email conversation, which is not what somebody's come online to do. Somebody said a funny thing just this morning. It was actually Jérôme, which is, if you have contact gallery on your Artsy page or on any marketplace, all you're doing is going online and telling someone to go to the gallery. So you're not really online at all. You're just doing, you're kind of just a little bit online, but you're mostly still offline. So that is not considered building your online business. What doesn't work is taking the physical and traditional gallery experience and plopping it on the internet and thinking you're going to get the same results. It's two very different initiatives. And we need to be listening to the collector, otherwise we're going to be missing the collectors. Right over our head, and then they've moved on. And actually works with visible pricing have 6 times higher sell-through rate on Artsy. So what you think you're losing by not forcing a conversation or shielding pricing, you're actually losing 6 times more, which is conversion rates and transactions and engaging the next generation of collectors that are looking for those trust signals. Market analytics, you know, people, especially if it's somebody who's not an experienced collector, it can be very daunting to start to go on a platform like Artsy and not know where to begin. We do try to create a lot of curated moments, and then of course the matchmaking and different viewing rooms so people can look at different groupings of works and programmings. But something that's really important that we've rolled out is free market analytics. You can basically look up any artist and you can see what their most recent auction results are and if it's going up or down. And that gives collectors an additional sense of comfort to be able to make, certainly at higher value price points, an informed decision. So again, this kind of goes back to the same theme, which is transparency, transactability, authenticity, and trust. And if you want to attract the next generation of collectors, you need to be thinking of all of these things, which can be completely contrary to how we've thought of these things in the past in the art world. Connecting with culture. Next generation collectors view their art as an expression of their personal tastes, of their beliefs, whereas before a collection would be private, now you're seeing collectors sharing it online. They're proud of their collections, they want to share it with their friends. It's something that represents them. And tastes are often driven by cultural currents as well. Whatever's going on could really move the market. And you know what's been fantastic is artists that saw the greatest leaps in demand on Artsy in 2021 were emerging artists of racially diverse backgrounds. And that's actually something that we think very seriously about as well in terms of equal representation. We're always very conscious about who we're surfacing if we're not prioritizing kind of the usual Western male artists, and we want to make sure that we're giving equal visibility and exposure to artists from all over the world and from all kinds of backgrounds. And in terms of some interesting stats, so these are artists that just joined Artsy in the last 12 months. So they're the most followed newly joined artists to the platform. 7 out of 10 of them are artists of color, including the top 3. So as somebody mentioned, we've seen a real increase in interest in African art and diaspora, and that's been a really exciting shift in the market. It's something fresh, it's exciting, and you know, it's always good to kind of have different things going on. We're also seeing, you know, another generation of collectors having different interests in different types of artists. And that's a wonderful thing, thinking about how to help build artists' careers and be able to support more art and artists globally. For us, what really drives our mission and our vision as a platform and as a marketplace is the idea that if somebody wants to become an artist as a career, this should not mean that you are a starving artist or are going to have a very hard road ahead of you. We want it to be something that is a viable career that can fuel your life and that can support your life financially by attracting more people to art collecting, by giving a greater platform to artists of all types from all over the world, and be able to help grow that art collecting market to be able to support these artists. Something that we think about a lot in terms of culture and meeting the next generation of collectors where they are and how they think is, again, we have a Vanguard, the Artsy Vanguard, every year, where we kind of announce the 20 hot emerging artists of the year and kind of give them a lot of promotion and marketing. And a lot of these artists end up getting picked up by museums and major galleries following that Vanguard. So this is, again, another opportunity to elevate rising stars and help give a voice and a platform to different artists. Social impact, I think we've seen a huge change in the last few years about kind of corporate responsibility and this next generation of users and buyers in general, not just in the art world, thinking about the types of companies they buy from and if their values are aligned with their values. We've recently rolled out impact auctions at Artsy, which is basically we work with primary in-demand artists and galleries and center a major spotlight auction around a benefit cause where we're able to drive, again, a lot of exposure to good causes that the artist or the gallery are looking to support. We currently have a Stanley Whitney right now in auction through Gagosian, And this is going to support Planned Parenthood and Art for Justice, so causes that are dear to us as well as the gallery and the artist. And this is, again, thinking about how to use your voice and your platform. And every one of us has a voice and a platform. You don't have to be a big marketplace, but we all have a lot of impact on the world and in the world that we're operating in. We work with a lot of very wealthy people, high net worth individuals, and I know there's a lot of philanthropy in art, which is fantastic. And that's always something important to keep in mind in the art business and in thinking about that next generation of collectors. And just, you know, it's a process, and it's an all-encompassing experience, really, for art galleries and businesses to think about their online strategy in a really serious way and build on that continuously. It's a long-term thing. It's not, I tried it for 2 months and then it didn't work. This is like a forever thing. It's like saying I opened a gallery for 2 months and it didn't work. It takes time to build your business. It takes time to build your exposure. And it's really important that you give yourself the fairest chance to succeed in order to be resilient in the face of whatever economy we might be facing coming up, but to be able to continuously bring in that next generation of buyers into your business so that they're engaged with you. And whether they started out buying a print from you in their younger years and then grow with your gallery into a major collector, that is an important aspect of growing your business. And you know, there's something, Artsy is the internet, right? So you're exposed to a vast audience. Not everybody is an art historian or an art expert. And sometimes we need to, you know, coach galleries on being patient with some of the questions they get asked online or some of the offers they receive. And maybe that person wasn't familiar with that particular artist. And you know, some galleries can sometimes get a little bit impatient, and we have to tell them, you know, this is somebody who's ready to spend money and made you an offer with money. Take a minute or two to bring them in, educate them, and then that is potentially a collector for life. And we hear many galleries say that they've met some of their best collectors from in their practice through Artsy. And, you know, I see what the galleries that are succeeding are doing every day on the platform, and those that are falling behind that don't want to change the way things have been done. So then don't expect better results than the effort you're putting into it. It's a different business, and it's really important we think about it that way and plan ahead for our business. So we're helping people meet collectors where they are, help them discover new art, build trust and transparency, connect with culture, and overall grow the art collecting market so that we are resilient in the face of anything as an industry. Thank you. Yeah.
For Carine. Sí, acá, Sabrina. Thank you. Well, thank you for this beautiful corporate presentation, but I liked it. You said in the presentation that 50% of the collectors spent half of their budget online in 2021, right? I wanted to know if you have the data about these the transaction that they made. Do you know if the works that they bought online are new discoveries or just a transaction happening after the collector saw it during a fair or in a gallery some time before? Is it something that, I mean, I don't know if it's a data you have.
So that's a great question, and actually that brings up an important point, which is online and physical are not two separate businesses. They are actually meant to be highly complementary to each other. We view ourselves as the digital arm for the art galleries and the art world, and not as a replacement for it at all. And to your point, what we're seeing a lot of is somebody discovering an artist on Instagram and then clicking through and researching them more on Artsy, and if it's available there, they might buy it on Artsy, or they see an artwork on Artsy and they'll go to the physical gallery and check out the work in person and maybe buy it in person. Or they'll be at an art fair and they'll scan a QR code, which is something also that we're using more and more of these days. And they like the work at the physical fair, they scan it, then they can transact easily and seamlessly right on an app that they use where their payment is direct and safe and secure. They have shipping included and they don't have to think about it instead of spending days wiring money and like just this clunky experience. So they are really complementary to each other and they are meant to support each other. I mean, we don't even know what the real data is of people that saw something online and went and bought it at the physical gallery. Because if the gallery's not tracking that, they wouldn't even know, but that's happening all the time. So there's even a lot of unrealized gains from having a strong presence online that drives people to your fair, to your gallery, to whatever. And these things have become like a circular loop, building each other up, really. So I don't have the exact data on what you want, but it's almost impossible to have it. Because we'd need galleries to I know you're good at documenting that. She has a gallery on Artsy, and they're very good at.
Sorry. Yeah, maybe it's nice to share my experience. I mean, it's true. We know very well Artsy, and we ask our collectors when and the new collectors that we meet through Artsy. We ask them, and I have to say that most of the time it's not that they have seen the piece in our gallery or in a fair with us, but at some point the collector was in contact with an artwork from the artist or the practice of the artist, and maybe sometimes it passes like 3 years, 4 years before something happened, and then it can happen through Artsy or through another platform. But this leads me, if nobody has another question, I will keep following.
She'll keep asking.
Sorry. But no, I will be very quick. This leads me to the key point, which is my struggle with transparency and pricing, and we've talked about it.
Yeah.
So the same way that I totally agree with you, with the next generation of collectors, the new generation of collectors and the new habits in collecting, that transparency, it's opening the door and opening the windows of your house, and it is the process of collecting. I do believe that we are, and let me know if you agree, but we still are in a transition time and there is two speeds. And in my experience, it's still, we will improve, but it still works better to have the collector who really want the piece and engage with the piece and the artist and the gallery to ask me about it. And I will answer the price, but the conversation is open. And maybe this piece is not available for his budget, but I do have a contact and the possibility to offer something else. So
yeah, and I hear that. I obviously hear that point from other galleries, and I think it really comes down to weighing the pros and cons, right? And then, so what I was saying before is there's a little bit of a misconception, which is if I don't show the price, because this is why it's also done that way at galleries, right? They don't show you the price, so you have to go, engage, talk, and whatever. But what we think we're missing out on from those conversations that might not happen because you don't have 100 people asking you, hi, how much does this cost, as most of your inquiries online, you're gaining much more, which is the people who didn't come and ask you or didn't engage because there was no price are going somewhere else. So, and again, the stats speak for themselves. Galleries with visible pricing have 6 times higher sales or sell-through rate. So it's, we have the anecdotal aspect of things, but then we've got the data on what 3,700 galleries are doing and who is getting more and who is maximizing on their platform or on their online experience, whether it's on Artsy or your own website. It's just it's just a longer road to do it on your own, but it is an important trust signal if you actually care about bringing in the next generation. It's not a point that I'm here to debate. I can only represent what the collector audience continue. It's the number one frustration we hear in every single survey. We get emails about it. emails about, I don't want to send money to this gallery in another country from me. Why can't they just transact on the platform? I don't want to call a gallery. They keep telling me to call them or email. Like, I don't want to do that. I'm online. If the gallery names are there, if they want to call and email and have that experience with that gallery, they are absolutely free to do it. There's nothing that would stop them. But trying to force it is forcing them somewhere else. The data speaks for itself. But I hear your point. I know that there is, some gains around kind of getting that engagement, but you'll get a lot more qualified engagement if it's starting from an honest space.
I have a last one. Sorry, very quick. I haven't seen in your presentation, is geography relevant in terms of active buyers on Artsy? I mean, on the data you manage on your platform, your collectors, geography, can we expect Asian collectors to be more active? I mean, based in Asia or based in the US? I don't know.
Yeah, our the collector trends on our marketplace are pretty representative of what we're seeing in the real art world, with like US being the top collecting market, then the UK. We're seeing also this huge increase in Korean collectors. That's been really exciting, even increase in searches for Korean artists. We've had like over 230% increase in Korean users on the platform, and the second highest Android app downloads. And speaking of the Asian market, very digitally and tech oriented, may not be interested in having a conversation, might not be native to English, and that could be a deterrent as well. They are, they're ahead of every other market probably in Asia in terms of digital. And if we're not giving them what they want in the right way, in a quick way, in an easy way, then you're also going to be missing out on that market too. Thank you. Good questions. Hi.
Hi. Okay. Hi, my name is Ricardo. I work on sales and communication here in a gallery in Barcelona. First, I do agree to what you said, Sabrina, that the engagement with the collector is important, and sometimes with that purchase, you're missing this, and it's important for galleries to build the relationship with the collector over the years, because as you said, yeah, somebody that can start with a little collection, maybe over the years, can end up having a good one. But I don't wanted to get back to this. I just wanted to ask, because we've been discussing about NFTs during these two sessions, and you talk about this next gen of collectors. So I don't know if you can share some metrics, some information on this, about all these percentages that you saw. I don't know if you can give us a bit insight.
What's going on with NFTs.
Exactly,
and stuff?
because you have a space on Artsy.
We do.
For the NFT. For an NFT platform, so
yes. So we actually we had a couple of NFT auctions on the platform last year. They did extremely well. We were also supporting a good cause, Girls Who Code, and I think we had a 95% sell-through rate on that auction. This was before kind of the market cooled down. I would say there is definitely still interest, and it's still an area that we're thinking about. But because it has cooled down considerably from where it was last year, it is a little bit on the sidelines at this point. And we're waiting to see, and we're always looking at it. But you can search NFTs as one of the menu items at the top of our navigation bar. Galleries can post NFTs, but they have to do the transaction on their own, through their own crypto wallet. So we don't support that yet transactionally. You can certainly find some great NFTs and CryptoPunks on Artsy. Yeah. See?
Hi, Elena, Galerie 3, Austria. I talked with a lot of my colleagues about Artsy because actually, of course, and your recruitment is very, to call it active, every active. Second day I get a different person asking me if I want to join.
Yeah, we're very active.
Yes. So what I heard from my colleagues is that it's more works on lower prices that are sold, and then a lot of them quit again because they said the buyers are in the US and the shipment prices are higher than the the actual work prices, so it's not worse for them. That's the one thing. And the other experience that a lot of the colleagues told me, and I experienced once after an art fair, was that you get a lot of requests once you enter, like, for example, on the occasion of an art fair. And then my colleagues told me, okay, but they think it's fake requests because they run into nothing, kind of. So it's kind of a generated request to enforce you to join, and then once you buy it for or you chip in, then you're kind of it
okay,
fades
so
out.
I've heard 3 questions there, so let me break it down.
Yeah.
One of them, they think that you can only sell low price works. So that's so is it just selling because you'd have to ship to the US, you have to pay for shipping, whatever that price is, whether it's on Artsy or not, the question is, do you want to ship to US collectors, whether it's through Artsy or on your own, right? So that's, that one maybe is like a secondary point related to the platform. It's a question of if a gallery is set up for that. Yeah.
Close, you know, if there is a function that says search something that is whatever.
Well, yeah, collectors can search galleries by city, wherever they're located. They can even search artists by nationalities. There's a lot of search functions. A gallery can choose if they want to accept a sale or not. So if they don't think it's worth it to sell to somebody, although I imagine the shipping cost would be passed off to the buyer. We also have Artsy shipping, so I'm not sure if your colleagues are using that, but basically we calculate the shipping costs globally on behalf of galleries, and that cost is passed off to the buyer. And this is something to really help remove the workload from gallery partners' plates, because this is a really kind of complex process. We certainly don't have people that are sending inquiries at all, but we do drive a lot of traffic around art fairs we partner with. So what we do is when we have an art fair, we basically recreate the fair on Artsy digitally so that anybody who, or even people who do go to it, but if you can't attend the physical art fair, you can actually browse all the exhibitors and galleries and artworks on Artsy, and 3 weeks after the fair closes. And because we drive a lot of attention and promotion, and the art fairs also drive a lot of attention and promotion to the digital site, it actually has 4 times higher page views on art fair artworks. So that's probably why they're seeing a big influx of inquiries during those times. But we do sell artworks of all values. Obviously, like the entire world, it's easier to sell things at lower price points, whether it's in the real world or in an online world. There's just more people able to buy things here. And then as it goes up in the pyramid, your pool of collectors shrinks as you get to the $1 million ranges. But we also sell works for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we have galleries making millions of dollars through the platform. It also depends how you use it. A gallery, 2 galleries can even have the same artworks, and one of them can be doing really well and the other one not, because they're not proactive with how they're using it. And that's an important point, because it's like joining a gym. If you join a platform, you need to invest, you need to be proactive, you need to do it if you want to see results. And if you don't, you're not going to see anything. And then you're going to say it doesn't work. But this is like a 2-sided partnership. So if a gallery uploads 3 artworks in the whole year, whether it's on Instagram or Artsy or anywhere else, that's not an online strategy. And we know that galleries are, oftentimes small teams, they have limited resources, and they have to choose what to prioritize. So that's the tricky thing. It's, do you prioritize something that you think is going to drive return on your investment, but you don't know yet because you haven't tried it, or the thing happening right now in the gallery, right? And then, we do have to sometimes have tough talks with galleries that, again, you have to be deliberate if you truly care about succeeding online and growing your art collecting base. You have to be uploading continuously. You have to have good pictures. You should have multiple images. 3 images of an artwork has 2.5 times sell-through rate than 1 image of an artwork. So think about anything you buy online. And, thinking about online should be not thinking about art online. It's just thinking about how you as a user like any other online experience outside of the art world and make that connection. They shouldn't be that different, even if it is a very unique industry. You have to think of what the user experience you would like to have on the platform, and if you are delivering that experience to other users, or if you're doing it in a way that doesn't make sense to an online user. So again, being very proactive, uploading good quality images. The more information you put, the more your artwork will surface in a search, because you can search by many different features on a platform like Artsy or even on Google. If a work is transactable or has visible pricing, it surfaces above works that do not. So if you and another gallery represent the same artist, if that gallery is showing prices, his works will show up before yours, and yours could be on the 3rd page. So you are again sending that user to your competitors or to another gallery who has understood what the online collector wants and is delivering it. And they're seeing the results. And it's a very clear distinction. But you know, at the same time, if you're a young gallery with emerging artists, it does take time to build your business in the same way it would take time to build your business in the physical world. It's not a magic bullet. You have to, this is a long-term consideration. This is marketing and exposure. And it means you have to give people the opportunity to discover you, to find you, to run into your artists in the same way that you'd be doing it in the real world. But you have to give it the same level of attention and commitment. Yeah, any other questions? Yes.
Hello, Karina.
Hello.
How many artworks do you sell a year on Artsy, Karina?
The exact number, I mean, it's a lot. We don't disclose the exact number, but it's tens of thousands. We have 1,000 new people buying an artwork every month. That's just a first artwork. So think about people who are repeat buyers, buying continuously, sales that go off the platform that we can't even measure. So there's a lot of that also. So meeting collector on Artsy and then taking the sale offline. So there's even lots of unrealized gains, but there's also a massive residual value of that collector that you've met on any online platform. So yeah. Thank you.
So Karin, thank you a lot. We have to stop here to go to our next and last session. Thank you very much, Karin, for your...
Thank you, everyone.